Okay, hey everybody, this is Grace, and I'm on my way back to a pharmacy where I got dropped off stuff to get a prescription for those things that, you know, it's like the one that you see advertised on TV that checks your glucose level. You just put your thing to it. I don't know what they call them, but it's like that when it's not the same. I said this in an earlier video, and they really, everything needs competition. Nobody, I don't like the whole thing of monopoly. Boy, I'm gonna have the hiccups now. But anyway, no, now I do have the hiccups. Anyway, I was at home and I saw it on my phone. She said that if she had it, she didn't have it, she'd reorder it, but she was gonna fill it later on. So take it. She filled it because he sent me a text saying to come pick it up, which is great because it's supposed to storm tomorrow. And I guess that's why I'm feeling I had to use my inhaler twice today. It's a rescue inhaler. I did not know there was a difference. I still don't know much about the difference, but I have never had an inhaler before. I've never used it. I think the doctor gave me one before. I never used it. I don't know, maybe another one did too, I don't know. But I never used them until this time around. And I am amazed. I really am. You know, like when I'm have shortness of breath, and when I, you know, having a difficult time, I just do the inhaler and like immediately, right then, it feels better. It's amazing. But anyway, get over here and get this done since we're going to have all these storms tomorrow, and it's just supposed to be that way the rest of the week. Okay, I had to stop for there for. I have a little bit of a cough. I guess it's because of all the dirt. Like yesterday, I was sitting outside making a video, and the neighbor, I guess the neighbor's behind. It's two women, they're youngish, and I guess one of them got a boyfriend or something that moved in, and maybe both of them did. I don't know. But I guess he decided he was gonna take over the lawn service, and that's not a wise thing when you live out in these estates. And he came out with one of those little shovels that you can buy. They're handheld little bitty ones that you do with gardening, and he was getting the weeds up. And I'm thinking, hey, yeah, you're gonna do that for that whole big old yard. And then he came out with the weed eater to do the edging on the sidewalk and everything. And there was all this dirt and dust blowing in the air. I don't know if he was causing it or if it was just because it's been real windy, you know, blowing in the storm. So, but look at those two cars, that same color. That was a little unusual color. So, but yeah, you can see the clouds moving in, and hopefully it'll clean up so much of this dirt and dust and everything. I mean, the air quality has been bad as it is, and then we have all this dust and dirt, and they were working on the sidewalks. There's so much construction, unbelievable amount of road construction, and just construction all around. And yeah, I'm kind of rambling here, but that's okay. I wanted to have a vlog channel and do vlogging, you know, but because I've been sick, you know, with pneumonia and all, I wasn't making videos. I had videos left over from sometime. I think today is May 18th, and it was from sometime over a month ago. Hadn't put up yet. I deleted them. But yeah. But anyway, yeah, because, you know, I wasn't making videos and everything, and I know the score. I've been on YouTube since, let's see, August will be 12 years, and it'll stop sending out impressions, and I put videos up in different channels. I've had too many channels. I'm not using them all right now. But put a video up, and nobody gets the notice. It just sits there. So, okay. Man, I do feel like, you know, my chest is, the allergies are, I'd say it's due to pollen. And, yeah, I've had allergies for many, many years. Since I was young. But all this stuff in the air is awful. So, anyway, like I said, I won't be able to go out. I don't like to drive. I mean, I am a very experienced driver at my age. I've been driving 47 years, something like that. And we used to do a lot of road trips. I mean, I'm talking big time road trips. You know, we've been everywhere from Northern California to South Florida Keys, the southernmost South Florida Keys, yeah. And so many points in between. We did more than once some of these things and driving. Yeah, and just the driving around, you know, in town and stuff. And of course, you know, you can look it up. Of course, it's more accidents happen in the rain. And I would prefer not to go out in the rain. Plain and simple. I mean, I've driven on ice. I've driven on, that's bad. And trust me, that is bad. Yeah, if you can avoid it, avoid it. You get out and you don't know that it's out there. So, I mean, I had that happen to me. Had no clue. There was no warning, nothing like that. Why is there a desk over there? Somebody just dropped off a desk? You see it? Over there. Yeah, somebody dropped off a desk. So, okay. A little busy over here now. Hopefully it won't be too long. As well put it in gear though. But, we used to do a lot of road trips, and, I mean, seriously, big time. And I'm, like I said, an experienced driver, and it's just stupid. Some people, I mean, if you don't have to, why? Why would you do it? Why would you go out if you don't have to? In the rain. At all. Really. I mean, yeah, I understand people go out, of course. But, what is that? Okay, I wanted to mention something. How many people have noticed this becoming like a trend lately? Like you go to some place, or you make a phone call, and you know, to a business. Okay, it's going to be at a business, and the people working there have something like a, no matter what age, a high sense of entitlement, and as though that they see themselves as, they don't see the actual working social contract that's their customer, you know, employee, manager. You know, there's a hierarchy and all that. Okay, you know, I'm a social and behavioral scientist, and they don't see the social contract. It's as though, you know, some people have told them, well, you know, you don't have to do this, and you don't have to do that. But it's the norm, and some people don't want to pay attention to the norm. I mean, just imagine if the world were like, okay, I'm driving here, and I just drive on the wrong side of the road because I want to. What would happen there? But some people, you know, have this attitude recently. I've noticed that they want to make sure you know they are above you in that hierarchy when they're not. Like I had called my podiatrist's office one day, and I was asking, they transferred me to some woman for some reason, and I think she worked in, I don't know what it was, but, you know, I was talking to her about an appointment or something, and I asked the address. I asked for the street address, and she started talking over me. And she said things like, what, you don't know where this road is? And I'm like, excuse me? She got real smart aleck. And I said, hold on, all I'm asking for is a street address. Oh, yeah, blah, blah, blah. Talking loud like smack, you know, like she was real tough, and she had to make sure I knew I was underneath her on that totem pole she had erected. And I told her, you know, you had just lost that doctor a patient. I hung up. I mean, sometimes, and she did. I had been there only a couple of times. But how often does a person need to go to their podiatrist, you know? Well, right now I could, but I mean, I've been there, you know, and she just lost a patient because of her attitude. And later on that day, I think it was that day and the next day, I had a weird phone call, you know, a hang up or something like that. I don't know, but and it made me think of this woman I'd worked for many years ago, and it was a really well-known insurance company. I was doing temporary jobs. It was a long time ago, and she was a temporary too. You know, there were several. We were doing a project when the NPIs came out, and we were adding all the NPIs for the doctors and dentists and all that into the system for the insurance company. And she was, oh man, there was a smoke shack. It's basically what it was. Yeah, but people also took, you know, who didn't smoke just wanted to get outside and sit in the shack, you know, in case it was raining or whatever, or they just didn't want to have the sun pelting down on them. They went into that shack and sat there, and people had, you know, conversations and stuff. And it was kind of like the break room, but outside. And she was out there. I don't think she smoked. And she was one day just standing there. She was really like a year or two younger than I. And she was standing there, and she started talking to just nobody. She was just staring off into the world like she was thinking out loud. I mean, literally thinking out loud. And she told a story about when she had worked in a call center, and somebody called in and gave her, as she felt, an attitude problem. So she took down the woman's address, name, phone number, and and went there, and she started talking weird stuff. She kept calling the woman, and she was harassing the woman, went to her house, all this different stuff, and it was like people were just sitting there listening to her and watching her stare off into the, you know, stare off and talking like that. It was freaky. And she wound up getting me in trouble, not that day, not about that, but because she had an attitude problem, and she started an argument with me, and I told the boss, look, she's this, that, you know, gave her the boss needed to know this woman was dangerous, and she was dealing with people. You know, but I just told her what she was doing to me, and they said, if you can't get along with her, then you have to go. I said, goodbye. So, no, I'm not going to be working with some crazy person. Yeah, she was crazy, man. And that woman that on the phone, that podiatrist's office, made me think of her. You know, that kind of attitude that she has to make sure you know where you stand. I'm the patient. I'm the employer. I'm not the employee. You know, all patients are employers. They're employing that doctor, their office, for a service. They're not employees. You know, they don't have to do any work. They don't have a job there. They're employers. And somehow, some way, started off many, many years ago, before I was born. People got it twisted, you know? Oh yeah, that's what that woman reminded me of. And have you noticed this yourself as a trend, where people, and that wasn't the only time I've experienced that lately, but that one I really remember. It stood out because it reminded me of that, and I mentioned it on a video I made at the time, around that time. But I feel that more and more that people will talk over you. I mean, there's always been a thing. There are some people who will talk over you. You're trying to, like, you're trying to tell them something, and they want to hurry up, and they rush you, and they're going to say something, try to hurry it up. But that's not healthy, especially with anybody has to do with healthcare. And I'm even talking pharmacists, okay, that want to rush. And, that's a good way to make mistakes for doctors, nurses, their staff, pharmacy, their staff. I'm not saying anything happened here, but it made me think about it. Is to rush the patient, the employer. I know, doesn't it sound weird to think of patients? Like you're getting your medication, you're still a patient. But you are not the employee. And I think there's a whole bunch of things that people wanted to change it and make it to where it said, they said the customer's not always right. Well, the customer's not always wrong either. I remember saying that, I don't know how many years ago, on a video, so it's been within the past 12 years. And people said, yeah, it had changed to where the customer, people say the customer's always right. I never liked that either. But then people wanted to make sure that the customer's not always right. Before it was the customer is always right. And then they made it, did I say that right? To where they wanted to make sure people knew the customer's not always right. So what they did was they kind of changed it to where the employees are always right and the customer is just wrong. Okay, now that's wrong. You'll go from one extreme to another. And it does depend on what the customer is wanting. If the customer is asking a question like, what is the street address? I wasn't a customer, I was the employer. It's really weird to say that, and the way it sounds. I know. We're used to, it's like we're at their mercy. No, we're not. No, we are not. There are other podiatrists. Imagine that. I can go to other podiatrists. I don't have to deal with an attitude problem employee there. An employee with an attitude problem. So, and I don't have a job there. Ooh, that car. But anyway, yeah. You had to get out of that mess. Yeah. But you see what I'm saying? I keep mentioning this lately because I have dealt with so many doctors' offices and everything. And some of the stuff that these doctors, their employees, even the doctors, even the nurses, the PAs, whatever, and anybody, they have erected a totem pole. And they believe that we, the patients, are on the bottom of it, or they place us underneath it. I tell you, it's just, yeah. Anyway, I think I'm gonna wrap this up.